Ah, there you are. Wondering what's going on, eh? A bit of bad news there, I'm afraid. Your colony ship was inexplicably knocked out of skip space and forced to complete its journey at sublight speeds.
There has been a megaton of interest in the Fallout series since the release of the Amazon Prime TV series. And it's no wonder why, as there's this incredibly rich lore, humorous writing, and over-the-top action. With this surge in popularity though, the games, and even Fallout Shelter on the Switch, has also seen phenomenal growth in popularity, with users flocking back to recapture some of that small screen magic in what is an unforeseen side effect. But this also has many gamers asking, why don't we have Fallout on Switch? Well, ask no more, dear gamer, for we already have Fallout on Switch at home. Well, kind of. The Outer Worlds from Private Division and Obsidian, who crafted what is arguably the best Fallout in the series, Fallout New Vegas and I'll Die on That Wasteland Hill, is an original IP that is essentially Fallout without the nuclear bombs. And while it was released a while back now, much like the wastelands of the Navajo Desert, it was a little worse for wear, and I think now it's a great time to revisit it to see how it stands now. What's it like? Fill out your employment form, lock and load, and enjoy this review brought to you by Spacer's Choice. You've watched the best, now try the rest, as we review The Outer Worlds.
All Spacer's Choice weapons are now 30% less likely to malfunction. You've tried the best, now try the rest. Spacer's Choice. Yes, nailed it that time.
Before we trade your Pip-Boy for something a bit more comfortable, would you mind liking and subscribing? It's the best way for smaller outlets like What's It Like to get discovered, and I can't thank you enough for doing so. The Outer Worlds is a first-person sci-fi action role-playing game that sees you awaken from cryosleep to embark on a crazy journey across multiple planets run by Spacer's Choice, a super conglomerate controlled by the Board, who pretty much exploit and rule the galaxy. I don't really want to spoil the story for you, as it's really entertaining and it's exceptionally well written, and it differs from the you can be good or evil derivative to instead offer choices that aren't so black and white. And I found these enjoyable, since most games I try to play as a lawful good hero, whereas The Outer Worlds offers a more chaotic approach. At an early stage in the game, you have to decide whether to shut off the power to one of two settlements, meaning no matter what you do, people get hurt. A charismatic or diligent player may be able to explore a different outcome where the blow is softened a little bit, but your choice and the actions in the Outer Worlds mean you as the player will have to lean into more grayscale areas of your moral compass. None of this is bad, and it's this stellar quest writing that makes the Outer Worlds so enjoyable, fleshing out your quests and making the player really question their actions throughout the game. Speaking of characteristics, you're able to distribute stat points into how you want to play the Outer Worlds. You can play as a melee fighter, charismatic scoundrel, or a weapon specialist, just to name a few. You can also inherit flaws, depending on how much you play, that offers a debuff risk for a stat boost reward. One such flaw was inflicted upon me for taking too much plasma damage. I could choose to accept a 25% increase in damage taken from plasma weapons in exchange for a free perk. And you can also just reject these flaws as well and keep things simpler should you wish to do so. Combat is handled with tight shooting mechanics and stat boosts that were reminiscent of the Borderlands series. You can also slow down time to momentarily blast foes in specific areas and put debuffs on them, like blind for headshots or cripple for limb shots. And you can even disarm opponents with a well-placed shot. There are a lot of ways to solve problems in the game, and I found some of the more rewarding outcomes came from resorting to using my brain instead of splattering my enemies.
Say, this wouldn't happen to be your ship, would it? Because you sure walked in it like it was your ship. And if this ship is yours, well, mister, you owe Spacer's Choice a hefty fine. Afraid we gotta dock your pay. Oh, by the law. I'm so sorry. I had no idea we had an inspector coming.
Now, upon its initial release, The Outer Worlds on Switch was criticized for its poor performance and bland visuals. But thankfully, the developers listened to player feedback and have done their best to address these concerns. The game still does suffer from the dynamic resolution blur that we've seen in a lot of performance-heavy games, and there are still some performance drops. But the engine has been vastly improved since the initial release. Worlds and environments are varied and interesting, ranging from warm tropical planets to cold and mechanical spaceships that are more linear in structure, breaking the game into more manageable bite-sized pieces rather than leaving the player lost in space. You are still offered open-world freedoms in these areas, exploring and tackling objectives at your leisure, and there's still a lot to discover off the beaten path for the more adventurous explorer. The new updates have smoothed out the frame rates while exploring these worlds, and they've added more detail such as foliage and trees into the areas, as well as additional world details that make the game much more visually appealing. It's actually a fairly visually impressive game, even in its reduced state to make it perform on the Nintendo Switch. Sound design is fantastic with expertly voiced acted characters, bringing the Outer Worlds to life with humorous quips and quirkiness that really just doesn't go over the top. Character design and dialogue are certainly the Outer Worlds' strongest traits, with the developers assigning a lot of skill points into that category. Value-wise, especially these days, the Outer Worlds regularly goes on sale for around $25 Australian for the standalone game, and $40 Australian for the broad approved bundle, which includes 2 expansion packs, one being an entirely new location and the other being a murder mystery. Overall, the game will take an average player about 35 to 40 hours to complete for the standalone game, providing plenty of bang for your buck, especially when it's on sale. For my vision impaired space crew, there are some accessibility options around text size and highlighting your companions. It's a bright and colourful game for the most part, but I do suggest further researching it if this game will suit you as an individual. Overall, The Outer Worlds is a fantastic RPG that I found hooked me in within the first 10 minutes, and it took me for a ride across the galaxy. Its fluid and tight shooting mechanics make combat fun and interesting, and the stellar writing and voice acting kept me engaged when the danger was over. Sure, there are some compromises to make the game run on Switch, but those who play it will be in for an amazing journey across the stars. Kudos to Obsidian and Private Division for listening to the Switch players' feedback and further developing the port. Is The Outer Wilds on Switch fixed since launch? Yes. It is vastly improved to provide a much better version of an already great experience in my opinion. For me, it's safe to say that The Outer Worlds is out of this world on the Nintendo Switch. So, what's it like? The Outer Worlds is like Borderlands crossed with Fallout New Vegas. I award it an 82 out of 100.
Oh, I see we're in position. Good luck.
Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The best way you can support me is to like and subscribe and continue watching my content if you enjoy it. But if you do want to go that bit extra, you can buy me a coffee or join our Patreon, which shows you behind the scenes of this channel. Thanks again.